When we close our eyes and fantasize about an ideal lover, our minds often drift toward a very specific, polished set of images. We imagine someone with a slender or athletic physique, clear skin, and a confident, unwavering gaze. We imagine someone who has conquered the business world, someone who commands a room, someone who never stumbles over their words. We picture a person who is unfailingly strong, always solvent, and perpetually composed. These attributes have their advantages, certainly. It would be foolish to say that success or beauty are bad things. However, if we look closely at the relationships that actually work, the ones that survive the long, hard winters of life, we find that the true virtues of love lie in a different corner entirely. They are quieter, stranger, and far more human traits. The person who will truly make you happy might not be the one who looks perfect on paper. In fact, the ideal lover is likely endowed with qualities that society tells us to hide. The first of these essential qualities is imperfection. This might sound counterintuitive. We spend our whole lives trying to be perfect, trying to hide our flaws, trying to present a seamless facade to the world. But in the realm of love, perfection is actually a barrier. What truly nurtures a deep connection is not a person's accomplishments, but their relationship to their own flaws. We need someone who has a basic, calm, and humble recognition that they are, somewhat surprisingly, deeply flawed. We need a partner who knows they have not understood everything. We need someone who knows they are not unfailingly decent, that they lose focus, that they can be irrational, that they are prone to jealousy, and that they mess up all the time. Why is this so important? Because a person who has properly explored and understood themselves cannot be convinced of their own marvelousness for long. They know the truth. An ideal lover does not need us to persuade them of their fragilities. They are already intimately acquainted with them. They do not need us to hold up a mirror to their faults, because they look in that mirror every single morning. This makes them incredibly safe to be around. They are not defensive in the face of criticism, because they know it is likely true. They say sorry almost before we have even spoken the complaint. They do not flare up with arrogance when we point out a mistake. They nod and say, "Yes, that sounds like me." There is a supreme comfort in being with someone who feels, at a base level, truly grateful that anyone would put up with them. This humility, this lack of entitlement, makes them approachable. It creates a space where we can also be imperfect. If they are flawed and they know it, then perhaps it is safe for us to be flawed too. The second quality we must look for is the capacity for explanations. It is one thing to be broken. It is another thing entirely to understand the nature of that brokenness. We do not need flawless people, but we desperately need people who have a good sense of how they are broken. We need partners who can warn us about their problems before they have done too much damage. Think of it like a user manual. When you buy a complex piece of machinery, it comes with a guide that tells you how to troubleshoot it, what the warning lights mean, and how to prevent it from overheating. Human beings are infinitely more complex than any machine, yet we rarely come with instructions. The ideal lover writes their own manual and hands it to us early on. They can explain the backstory to their anger. They can trace the roots of their anxiety. They can articulate the origins of their self-pity and their indolence. They do not just act out, they explain why they are acting out, instead of us having to stumble onto their issues in the dark, getting hurt in the process, and then being told we are crazy or mean for mentioning them. The ideal lover gives us a map. They might say, I get very withdrawal when I am stressed because my father was very critical, and silence was my only defense. Or they might say, I become controlling about the dishes because chaos makes me feel unsafe, which stems from my childhood. They hand us a fairly dense folder of their follies with grace. This allows us to see their behavior not as an attack on us, but as a symptom of their history. It makes us feel hopeful about change, because understanding is the first step toward improvement. It also makes us unfrightened by the status quo, because we know what we are dealing with. We are not fighting a mysterious monster. We are navigating a known landscape. The third vital trait is humor, but I do not mean the ability to tell a joke or recite a funny line from a movie. I mean a very specific kind of humor, the ability to laugh at oneself. The best lovers are, in essence, constantly laughing at themselves. They are not taking their ego so seriously that it becomes a fortress. They invite us to laugh with them about how ridiculous they are, how vain they can be, how conceited they feel in certain moments. They laugh because they again said the wrong thing at the dinner party. They laugh because they tried so hard to be cool and ended up looking foolish. They laugh because they keep annoying us despite their best intentions. This laughter is a safety valve. In relationships, tension builds up. We get on each other's nerves. We disappoint one another. If we meet these moments with stiff dignity and defensive pride, the relationship becomes brittle. It will eventually snap. But if we can meet these moments with humor, if we can look at our own absurdity and chuckle, the tension dissolves. The ideal lover laughs so that we will not have to scream. They laugh so that we will not have to cry quite so much. They use humor to acknowledge the absurdity of the human condition, that we are these strange, highly evolved apes trying to live together in boxes and pay taxes and be happy. It is a ridiculous situation, and the only sane response is often a warm, shared laughter at our own expense. Fourthly, we must seek benevolence. This is a beautiful, old-fashioned word that simply means wishing well. In the context of a relationship, it means having a charitable interpretation of motives. When you are living with someone, they will inevitably hurt you. They will forget to buy the milk. They will say something sharp when they are tired. They will ignore you when you want attention. The natural, instinctive reaction is to think they are doing it on purpose. We think, he is ignoring me because he does not care, or she is nagging me because she wants to control me. We assign malice to their actions. The ideal lover, however, does the opposite. They have a benevolent interpretation of our motives. They do not immediately believe that we are doing things to punish them or bring them down. They know that, however maddening we are, we probably have not set out on a single-minded mission to destroy their lives. They pause and look deeper. They keep in mind the small, originally sincere, and innocent child beneath the very complicated, and sometimes no longer so charming adult that we have become. They are quick to imagine that we might, deep down, still be dealing with a hurt from a careless parent, or a humiliation at work, or that we might simply be very tired and in need of a hug. Instead of judging the behavior, they look for the need behind the behavior. They see our tantrum not as an act of aggression, but as a cry for help. This quality of benevolence turns a home from a battlefield into a sanctuary. It means that when you are at your worst, your partner is still on your team, trying to understand you rather than defeat you. Fifthly, there is the quality of intelligence. But let us be clear, the ideal lover does not need to know string theory or be able to translate ancient Greek. They do not need a high IQ in the academic sense. What they need is a firm grasp of the key tenets of emotional intelligence. This is a different kind of smarts. It is the ability to read the weather systems of the heart. They need to understand how anger can often mask hurt, that when we are shouting, we are often actually crying inside. They need to understand how impatience may arise from anxiety, that when we are rushing them, it is because we are terrified of being late and being judged. They need to understand the mechanism of projection, how those who are mean might be passing on a meanness that was once done to them. They need to grasp that there is almost always a childhood cause behind an adult sulk. When we shut down and refuse to speak, it is rarely about the thing we are supposedly fighting about. It is about an old, ancient feeling of being unheard. The ideal lover knows that people mistake figures in their present for ghosts in their pasts. They know that when we scream at them, we might actually be screaming at a ghost from 20 years ago. They know that the emotional mind is a very peculiar, delicate, and counterintuitive organ. It does not run on logic. It runs on association and memory. It cries out for gentle interpretation and curiosity, not rigorous debate. An emotionally intelligent lover is a detective of the soul, constantly looking for clues to help us understand ourselves better. Sixthly, and perhaps most delightfully, the ideal lover possesses a comfort with oddity. We are all incredibly strange. If we are honest, if we truly look into the corners of our minds, we are weird. We have strange fears, strange desires, strange habits. We talk to ourselves. We have irrational superstitions. We have fantasies that would make us blush if spoken aloud. Society asks us to hide this strangeness, to present a smooth, normal exterior. But love is the place where we should be able to take off the mask. Ideal lovers have room for our strangeness. They are not overly attached to their own normality, nor do they demand it of us. They know, from spending sufficient time in their own minds, that being a human being is a bizarre experience. They know that sex, for example, is very odd for everyone. It is a mix of the sublime and the ridiculous, the animal and the emotional. They know that we are all more envious, anxious, petty, glorious, and intelligent than we are meant to be. They do not judge us for our shadows. When we confess a weird thought or a shameful feeling, they do not recoil. They lean in. They say, "Me too," or they say, "Tell me more." They make us feel that our oddity is not a defect, but a feature. We love them for who they are, of course, but we love them even more for how they make us feel about ourselves. In their presence, we do not have to be the polished mannequin. We can be the quirky, messy, contradictory human being that we truly are. Now, pause for a moment and reflect on these 6 qualities: imperfection, explanations, humor, benevolence, intelligence, oddity. Notice how none of them require a 6-pack of abs. None of them require $1 million in the bank. None of them require a prestigious job title. These are democratic virtues. They are available to anyone who is willing to do the work of self-reflection. They are qualities of character, not qualities of fortune. This is wonderful news because it means that being a great lover is a skill that can be learned. It is not a genetic lottery. If you are currently single and looking for love, consider shifting your criteria. Instead of looking for the person who dazzles the room, look for the person who observes the room with kindness. Instead of looking for the person who never makes a mistake, look for the person who owns their mistakes with a smile. Look for the person who can explain their own heart to you. Look for the person who treats your bad moods with curiosity rather than contempt. These are the people who will make you happy in the long run. The thrill of beauty fades. The excitement of status wears off. But the comfort of being deeply understood, that never gets old. The safety of being with someone who accepts your flaws, that is a fountain of youth for the soul. And if you are already in a relationship, consider how you can cultivate these qualities in yourself. We often wait for our partners to be the ideal lover, forgetting that we have the power to set the tone. Can you be more open about your own imperfections today? Can you explain your feelings instead of just acting them out? Can you bring a little more humor to your next argument? Can you look at your partner's annoying habits with a little more benevolence, seeing the tired child inside the grumpy adult? Can you be a safe harbor for their oddity? To love someone is to accept them as a work in progress, just as you are a work in progress. It is a mutual agreement to be flawed together, to help each other carry the burdens of being human. It is about creating a private culture of two, a little world where the rules of harsh judgment do not apply, where kindness is the currency, and where understanding is the ultimate goal. So, as you go about your day today, try to let go of the pressure to be perfect. Let go of the demand that others be perfect. Embrace the messiness. Embrace the confusion. Embrace the weirdness. That is where the love is. It is not in the airbrushed photos. It is in the clumsy apologies, the shared laughter over burnt toast, the quiet understanding of a glance across the room. It is in the courage to say, I am broken, and I know you are too, and that is okay. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Happy Aura. It is a privilege to share these thoughts with you. I hope they settle in your heart and bring you a sense of peace and perspective. Remember, you are worthy of love not despite your flaws, but including them. You are worthy of a love that is kind, intelligent, and real. Until next time, keep breathing, keep feeling, and keep being your wonderful, imperfect self. You are doing just fine.